All right, we're back. We got another great episode. Sorry for being a few minutes late here, but we're gonna talk with Iggy Urbina. We're gonna talk to him. He's our special guest today. He coaches at Ramsey High School. He's an offensive coach there. Before that, he was at Depascale Powerhouse program up in North Jersey under Coach Sabella. We're going to talk a little bit about that transition from parochial school to public school, and in places like the Northeast in California. Those are pretty big transitions, and other places throughout the country, but where there's big parochial presence. So we're going to talk more about that. And so without further ado, let's bring on Coach Iggy. Coach, what's going on?
How we doing, fellas?
Coach Igs, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you coming on, taking the time.
Thank you guys for the text, for the invitation. Appreciate you guys having me here.
Coach, before we get rolling, just give us your whole background in coaching, and then we'll roll from there.
So my first job right out of college was straight up at Bosco. But as Derek was talking about, I studied sports medicine in college. So my first job at Bosco was as a trainer, the athletic trainer there. And that was great for obviously what it was. But then, as it happens many times when you're young and you make decisions about what you want to do, right? It just wasn't what I wanted to do. Like I'm helping with the team, but I just I felt like I had lost that competitive side of it, which I really just missed. And so I just transitioned into coaching, teaching at Bosco, and then obviously coaching there. Me and Derek, we were able to coach a year together at Bosco back in 2012. And yeah, I started there. I was coaching the running backs. Then I became running back / assistant head coach with Mike Teal. You know how all the titles go that get dropped. And then when Coach Sabella came in 2019, he made me offensive coordinator. And I'm really grateful for that opportunity. And I had been the offensive coordinator for the past 5 seasons. And now I made another career change, in terms of teaching. I took a teaching job over at Ramsey, and the coaching job came with it with Adam Baera, who's the head coach there now. And we had both started at Don Bosco together back in 2007. He was coaching JV. So we made, connections back then. And the AD at Ramsey used to coach our D-line as well. So that was a pre-existing relationship that we had through Bosco. And that's kind of how it came about. And here we are, man.
That's pretty cool. So you went in as a trainer. So originally that was like going to be your career was as a leg trainer. Where did you play high school ball or college?
I grew up in Secaucus, so a Group 1 school.
Yeah.
And then I went to Hofstra University, and that's where I studied sports medicine. And then my last year at Hofstra, I was like the traveling student trainer with football. Joe Gardy was there.
Oh,
my class, my senior year. Yeah, legend. And my senior year was a great class football-wise. I mean, we had Marcus Colson, who had a great career with the Saints, Willie Colon, who was with the Jets and the Steelers, Steve Bowen, who was with the Cowboys, Redskins, Val Ellis, who had a stint with the Lions, and now he's on BET, and he's an actor, and he's doing all these shows.
Yeah, he is.
Chris Mano, we had a bunch of guys on that team, some real big time talent, you know what I mean? And now unfortunately Hofstra don't have football anymore, which is kind of crazy, but yeah, so that's where I was at. Those were the guys I was with.
Was Dave Cohen on the staff at that time, or was
Dave Cohen came on as Joe Gardy's replacement when he retired. And
okay.
Gardy's last season was 2005, and Dave Cohen came on in 2006.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So let's talk about when you were at Bosco and kind of like that's one of the really powerful programs in North Jersey. They've had a lot of success over the years, and coaching there. What was that like over the years of coaching there, and talk a little bit about that.
I mean, amazing experience, just from top to bottom, everything you could think about in terms of a young coach and like your development and coaching, right? X's and O's, and then like the management of a program, how to be, a coach in that environment, right? Highly competitive. The bar is super high. The standard is super high. So, originally I was there, obviously, when Greg Toll was our head coach, and affectionately we call him the big guy. There's nobody.
Yep.
There's nobody like the big guy. I mean, and he was the ultimate motivator. He was the ultimate getting the most out of your players, right? Like his whole thing was, and it's an old coaching saying, right? You got to get your great players to play like all Americans, your good players to play great, your average players to play really good. And like that's what coaching is. It's just kind of like meeting your athletes where they're at and then getting them to play to a level that they didn't know that they had in them. And he was the master of that. Like he was so good at that. And yeah, and like learning those nuances, like picking up on that as a young coach on the field, that experience was invaluable. And then the talent that he surrounded himself with, not even just like from the player perspective, just coaching wise, Nunzio Campanelli, who actually he's the one that hired me for my first job because he was the AD at the time and the offensive coordinator. Then Anthony Campanelli, his brother, took over. Then Drew Lascari, who's our boy, who's now the safeties coach at Rutgers, he became our OC. On the defense side of the ball, Dan Morangi, obviously, Chuck Granatelli, the offensive line coach, like all these guys, Adam Baera, who's now the head coach at Ramsey, like so many guys who just got that experience and that I was able to learn from over the years. Then Mike Teal comes in, and I was able to learn from him, and just the names that I was able to coach with. I'm very, very lucky. I'm very, very thankful for the experience and for just being able to be around those guys and learning every single day from them.
And now you transition to Ramsey. So what was the thought process and kind of go over to Ramsey Public School, and we'll talk about it a little bit. But Adam's a fantastic football coach. He was after he left Bosco, he was at Hasbro Kites there for all those years, and obviously he's done really well at Ramsey. What was it about what Adam's doing, Coach Barrow's doing at Ramsey that made you want to come over there?
When me and him spoke, there was obviously that familiarity, with each other. I know exactly how he is and his style of coaching, and he knows who I am and the way I work as well. And it was, for me personally, it was the right timing as in terms of where I am in my life. When you're a young guy and you're putting all those hours in at Don Bosco Prep, that's the expectation, and you embrace that. You understand the work that it takes and the time that it takes. And I loved every second of it, right? And every role that I was in there at Bosco. But now having a family and having two young kids, it honestly it was, I love coaching football. It's my passion. But I was realizing very quickly that my kids at this age, I got a 4 and a 2-year-old. That window of time that I have with them at this age is going to go by so fast. And I was missing birthdays. I was missing, and God bless my family for understanding that. My father-in-law went to Bosco, and he's friends with Chuck Granatelli. He gets it. My brother-in-law played lacrosse and football at Bosco. He gets it. So like my wife gets it. My family gets it. It was just a personal thing for me now where I was like, okay, like, you're constantly taking care of other families and other parents, kids, that it was, for me, it was time for really like to just dial in. I wanted to take care of my family for this time being, because football is always going to be there for me. You know what I mean? And it was just it was a career move, and it was also just time to take care of my family and make that transition to public school where I can go teach there as well and get into the pension system. It was just that's what was the driving force behind it, and it just so happened that opportunity presented itself when Bear called and texted me saying just like, hey, what the deal was. A position was going to be open as a Spanish teacher, and you can come over here and coach. And I was like, for the first time, like that was something that like interested me, just again, where I was at. What's that?
I always say it's a daddy move, right? It's not a selfish move in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And
it's the move that you make because, like you said, like these are times where your kids are being raised, and I think it's it's something that a lot of coaches, especially young guys that now make that transition to like you said, it's all easy and good, and when you're single or you're dating or you don't have kids, like you can make these moves and make these jumps, and like Dave's done the same thing. He's made a couple moves a couple times where I'm sure that family aspect and like that plays into it. At one point Dave was commuting from, central Jersey all the way up to Indian Hills. Like, you know what I mean? Like but we all make those choices, and it is what it is. Like, you fell into a really good spot where you
Yeah.
can still continue to do both.
Yeah, and you know, the role that I'm in at Ramsey is allowing me to, you know, be just as active as a football coach. But I've been able to, you know, to just enjoy my family more than ever. And that's honestly, it's been great. That's really important to me. And like I said, like it was an extremely difficult decision. Trust me when I say that, to make. You know, me and Sabella had a number of conversations. He knew where I was at. And I miss the kids. I miss the staff. I miss the preparation of it, right? Because it's high stakes. Like, and I love that pressure of playing Bergen Catholic, of playing Joe's, of playing the out-of-state games. Like, I absolutely loved it, and I miss it. But there's no reason why this can't be the same, right? Like, that's football's football, and you're coaching kids, and you're playing for a state championship, and you're working on your team culture, and you're doing all those things, and there's no reason why it can be different. That's why I'm having so much fun with it, because I'm approaching it the same way, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Important is that transit. So when you transition to public school, I think, yeah, that's one of the definite choices. Obviously, your family, you know, that makes it's a big difference from that standpoint. And I remember my son's 9 now. What I remember, like 4 years old was awesome. Like 2 years old was awesome. 3 years old was awesome. It's like, you know, they're at those ages one time, and it's like, it's so cool. Like 4, 5, 6, those are really cool. Now my son's 9, you know, 9 years old, and now he's starting to think for himself. So it's which is great. I mean, every year is great, but those early years, like, those are like, you will never get them back, and if you miss them, you would regret it. So
yeah, it really is a once in a lifetime thing. And you know, my little guy started playing flag last year, and I was like, you know, running home try to catch like the tail end of practice, because he practiced like, you know, like he'd finish practice like at 7:30 or something like that. So like, I know if it was a Wednesday practice, Monday not making it because Monday was a really late day.
No shot.
As the week goes on, you know, like you're getting more of the work done. So I'd rush home to catch the last 15 minutes. I made it to 2 flag games, and again, they're 4-year-old flags, so it's not serious action going on. But just being there is you know, I just didn't want to miss any more of that, you know.
yeah, that makes perfect sense. I remember when I was coaching at RBR now, right, and my son was playing like some soccer stuff. He was doing some different things, and I would come in for like the tail end. I didn't even have a grasp for what was actually going on, to be honest. So, like, I didn't really know, like, that last the first year RBR, and then, like, you know, the COVID year, I was like, if he was doing something, I would make like a tail end of it, you know, type of thing. So it was it's totally different. And as you start to go and see it more, like now I'm coaching him, and if I'm not coaching him, like, as a sport he's playing, that, you know, that I'm not coaching him in, I could literally sit there and watch. Like, I put my chair down and relax, you know, and I coach him in football, but like in baseball, I don't coach him. You know, I sit there and just watch. And basketball, sometimes I'm coaching him, sometimes I'm not. And like, when he's, you know, I could just sit there and watch. So those kind of things become pretty cool. And then because eventually, you know, that you may pass them off to, well, you may pass them off to yourself, coaching wise, but you know, or you may pass them off to somebody else. But you know, those kind of things come around once. What since you've been coming at Ramsey for the short time you've been there, what are some of the things that you really thought that you're really learning, and that are differences from being at parochial school and public school, that, you know, the things that are really good, and the things that you really had to learn about from that standpoint?
So the fact that you've got so many guys that obviously play both ways, you know, you really have to become super organized with how you practice and what you're installing. You know, whereas every single year in and year out, it's like, hey, as an offense, we're working on inside zone this week in every single variation, right? Our split looks, you know, our bluff looks, every single thing, under center, in the gun, in the pistol. We're just working on inside zone this week. Next week, we're going to install outside zone, and we're going to so like here, it's like, okay, tomorrow we're going to install this, because then on Tuesday it's a defensive day, so we're not going to get offensive reps.
You don't even get 2 days in a row.
Yeah, that to me was like mind. I was like, okay, I never even thought of that, but that obviously does make sense. And you're coaching, you're everyone's coaching both ways, and everyone. It's a whole other level of structuring, camp in the summer, your installs, and managing the reps that everyone's getting, and the quality reps that everybody's obviously getting. There's not necessarily any, good versus good. You get what I'm saying? Like you have like your ones, and then like you have a scout look. We're at, again, I'm spoiled, dude. Like we're having a 5 best period right now, and we're going full go, and it's winner best of 5. Our first O against your first D, and there's a winner, there's a loser. We're conditioning for like all of that. There's team O every single day, so we're getting reps every single day. We're splitting, indie up. Everyone's got their own indie groups. There's offense, there's defense. Sometimes we're coming together and we're doing, collaborative drills, and like, blocking bubble screens, a screen drill, a half field drill, like, and we're getting constant good on good work. We're like, it's just different. The organization of it is different. So like, that's a whole learning aspect of just team management that I'm learning from Bayer, from Ann Bayer, and our coordinators about how they go about, structuring practice in the summer.
Yeah, I think that the big thing with going from doing everything each day, so being able to do offense every day or defense every day, versus that transition to splitting, you do offense one day, and then let's say you do it Monday, you do it, then you're doing it again on Wednesday, and it's like, and then you might have to reteach some things, because obviously it was, you didn't do it every day, right? So you're going to have to refresh what you learned on Monday before you go to the next.
You spend the first part of the period just going over what you had done the day before, like 2 days
there's a review
before,
aspect
because you didn't just do it yesterday.
Yes, no doubt. And there's you got to review with the guys about, from formations to motions to everything, because again, they were away from it for so to me, it's honestly been, it's remarkable what these kids can do. Like when we were gearing up for our 7-on-7s early, like in late June and then July, like what the amount that's on these kids' plates, because they're doing defense, they're doing offense, they're learning everything. And like, you better know all of it, and you better not forget anything, because, we were on offense on Monday, today's Wednesday. You still got to remember what you did on off. It's really like I said, it's been a really, really cool experience.
Well, it's what you grew up with. If you play at Steve Caucus, like I played at Saddlebrook, and Derek played.
We're all Group 1 guys.
So you definitely remember it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and so again, just all the credit to coaches everywhere and the kids, because of all that's on their plate and all that they have to do. Because when I mentioned before about like the time commitment at a parochial and the work and stuff like that, it's not to say that at the public school level there's less work to be done. That's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, there's more work to be done within the time that you get, right? Because there's obviously more regulations, there's more whatever it is. So it's being very smart with your time and being as efficient as possible with the time that you get, At Bosco, if we got pissed off at a practice and we said, hey, everyone's coming in on Saturday morning, we're practicing again. We're practicing Saturday morning again. You know what I mean? Like it was just different. I'll tell you one of the biggest differences, and this has nothing to do with football, the sharing of the field with other sports. It's something that like never even crossed my mind.
Welcome to the real world, brother.
I know.
Welcome to the real world.
It was so funny.
Soccer's on this half at this time. Like, okay, then field hockey's coming on at this time. Like, you gotta go. Like, what are we doing? Welcome to it, brother. Like,
it's a defensive day, and I'm in the middle of the field, and I'm talking to Bear, and I got the clock going for like when Indy's over, and there's a guy walking towards us, and again, I'm the new guy, so I don't know people there outside of our staff, and I'm like with Bear, I'm like, hey, who is this guy? And he was like, oh man, it was the band director. And he was like, hey coach, like what time are you guys getting off? He's like, we're getting off at 7 or he's like, oh, okay, perfect. He's like, we're just going to set up. So then, like we were able, there's a second field, which is again, that's not everywhere either. We're lucky to have that.
You're lucky to have that in general. Yeah.
And we go to the second field and I'm in the huddle with the guys, and I'm like, I'm getting trombones and drums, and I'm like, is this normal here? Like, what's going? You know, it was just crazy.
No doubt.
That was like,
Derek,
that was like
Welcome to how the other half lives.
yeah.
Derek, your mic, there's something like reverb, or I don't know if there's position of it. Yeah, there might be something going on a little bit there. Like, it sounds like sometimes you're in like a fishbowl. I don't know. Yeah, it might just have to go on and off for a second. But yeah, there's 100% the that is definitely something that is just the beginning part of what you deal with. But to make, if I can make you feel any better, since I coach 9-year-olds now, the field that we are on, a sliver of a field, and I'm there running no huddle offense, and we're trying to move the field, but we're going this way, and then all of a sudden people are creeping into our area. There's 10U, 8U, 7U around me. So then I turn my team, and now we're going this way. And I'm like, oh my goodness! I stopped coaching high school, and now I'm down to a 15-yard window of that I can actually practice it. And then of course, we're doing we do kickoffs going into the other team's practice. It's like, I'm like, oh my goodness. So
talk about just having to to pivot, right? And move in a different direction, and hey, you've got a plan set for today. Guess what? Field hockey's coming on, and I completely forgot, or whatever it is. And you're like, all right, I guess this period's out today. It's just like I said, there's a learning curve that comes along with it. I absolutely love it, though. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. And you actually do get to know a lot of the other sport coaches because of that. So you start to, and you're right. You're lucky that you have another practice field. There's North Jersey. I mean, down where I live down in Lincroft, down in Middletown. There's just endless fields down here. So it's pretty wild. But in North Jersey, that's not people don't realize that North Jersey, because they think of North Jersey as obviously being so good in football, right? Especially a lot of better teams, not just a parochial but public school too. But they think that we have these endless fields. Actually, most of the places don't, because it's very tight. So whereas down here, I'm sure Derek's has the same situation where he is. There's endless fields at so you're able to adapt a lot.
And that's
what's that?
No, that's a rarity, right? Because Butler has one field. You'll see it. There's one field, and you rotate through, trying to, this guy's got this time, this guy's that. Look, even when I was last year at SJV, we didn't even practice on our game field. We got a Thursday walkthrough, and that was it, because other sports were there. So, field 50-50, So it's definitely something that's, I can remember too, my first year at Bosco, we were practicing on the baseball field because they were redoing the field.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So talk about what you're specifically coaching as well, position wise, and some of the things that you're working with on your team.
So I'm coaching running back, which is right back to my roots at Bosco. And what's interesting is that, and I'm going to be in the booth this year, which I've literally never been actually in my career, which is it's going to be a cool experience. Because even with the running back stuff, something as simple as, and this might sound crazy, our offensive line coach at Bosco, he didn't like running outside zone out of the gun. So, and all we do at Ramsey is everything's out of the gun. At Bosco, we did under center, we did pistol, we did a little bit of everything. So I'm like, okay, what's the footwork that we need for the running backs, in terms of getting outside zone out of the gun and getting them on their correct path to their aiming point. So like I said, there's different things that I'm learning, even how Bear and ROC call their offensive system. It's a check with me system. We're never in the huddle, where at Bosco we were in the huddle. We had no huddle packages. Our 2-minute obviously was no huddle, and everything was signaled. We can jump into signals when we wanted to. But it was, so that whole thing, that's my role there. And now being in the booth, I'm able to tell Jeremy, our OC, and Bear just kind of what I knew, the information that I needed as a play caller on the sideline. And now being in that role is really cool because I can just chart things down as I go. Sometimes when you're on the field, you don't necessarily get a great look at everything because of the level that you're at. And you're so focused on the next play call, having your next call ready to go, the flow of the game, right? Where you might miss obviously a lot of things. That's what you rely on the eye in the sky, right? Like the guys in the booth that kind of help you that, hey, like what hash are we on? What yard line are we on? Hey, by the way, like you've called this and this. Like we've got, our next play action set up, by the way, whenever you want it, it's there. Hey, the backside end is bending every single time. Like out of this look, like we can hit him with a boot, like all those things. Like I said, I know the information that I needed at the speed that I needed it to make a good decision as a play caller. Now I'm being those eyes, which is a really just fun experience for me,
Bear used to run a great trips outside zone. I don't know if he still runs it, but
what would it tight end, like a nub tight end or what?
Three guys to one side, yeah, and then you run outside zone with it. It was lethal. It was absolutely lethal. Because the way he would block it, no matter where I don't know how he teaches it exactly for the back, but whatever he had his back read, like his cut is like he made you wrong all the time.
Yeah.
So basically, like if you put more guys on the outside and attacked off the edge, the kid would cut it up the field, and then you'd have a problem. If you had less guys on the outside and he would just keep stretching it. It was a great. I don't know if he still runs it, but
the old, and I'll quote Grant Tell because he's just a legend in my book, and the whole, and it's obviously more to it than that, but they can't be right. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
You never want to audible. If they do this and we got to do this, it's like, hey, we're doing this, and if they do this within that play and within the foundations of that play, here's what we can do. So make us right, make them wrong. It's that kind of like we just described with Bear in the outside zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dave, I just want to touch on what Igs. So going back to you talking about being in the booth, right? Coming from somebody who's been in the booth probably more often later in my coaching career, right? There's just something about being up there that slows the entire game down. Yes. It's almost like for me, it's when I get up there, you're playing Madden. It's and I don't even play Madden, but it's kind of how I everything slows down for you. You're not caught up in the emotion of the game in terms of what's going on the sideline or this or calling plays in or that. And then when you're on the same page with whether it be OC or for the most times with me, it's the DC, right? When you're on that same page and now you know exactly what that guy needs from you. And it could be something as terms of hey, you got second and a long 4 here. Or, hey, like you said, that backside corner is biting on this every time. We can hit this coming back. You know what I mean? I was with a guy that didn't want that. All he wanted was certain, hey, give me personnel or give me down and distance, give me personnel. That's all I need. And that was it. I would shut up. Right.
Yeah.
And then, I've been with other guys who are no, I need to know this, or, hey, what do you think about this? And when you're up top, you can literally, and look, for the most part, people don't know who the hell's up top, right? They have no clue how much that factors into a game. But when that head coach flips over to you and says, hey, what is this? You better have that freaking answer, because if you don't, and that's coming from when we coached with Toll, he never even wore a headset, bro. You know what I mean? He was old school, hey, allowed his coordinators to do what they do. But the guy Danny talked to up top, Coach Morangi, and then the guy who Drew talked to up top, Coach Liske, those guys are pivotal. And I don't think we really understand how important that can be,
And how involved those guys need to be in the game plan week in and week out, right? Because they have their jobs as well of coaching a position. The guy in the booth for me when I was a coordinator for the past 5 years at Bosco was Dan Depascale, who just got the Woldwick job. And, dude, he was just me and him were on the same page. He went above and beyond everything he needed to do, both as a position coach while being our special teams coordinator as well. Which is why he is a head coach now, right? At a public school. He's gonna do
so well there, bro.
Yeah, he's gonna do great. And like, and he was that guy for me that he knew exactly what I wanted to know throughout the course of a game. And then, just again, hey, like this is their adjustment right now to, trips with another tight end, right? Or so like this is on our menu. This is what we can hit them with. And it's like you said, a guy who's nobody knows who's up there, but is so valuable in the course of the game, throughout the course of the game, like just the flow of it, of guiding you and where a team should be going. Because again, like you said, he has that different perspective of the field and of being completely removed from like the emotions of it, like you said, which sometimes can be overwhelming,
Right. Yeah, and it's something that the players have to get used to that. Like in terms of like, hey, he's not going to be on the field. Like you got to know what's going on, because in order to ask that question, you either got to wait till halftime, bro, or you got to get on a headset. And public school, like you really might be on the field for the entire time. Like, and I can't just yell to you from the booth. You know what I mean? So that was always my hardest thing, was like, how do I coach my guys from up there? But if you do a good enough job during the week, like you shouldn't be coaching on Friday nights anyway. It should be
exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm really excited in the role that I'm in. And again, with this game, with football, like you never stop learning from an X's and O's standpoint, and from that what's the word, that the management, right, of how to run a team and how to, this is a whole different experience for me that I've, like I said, I'm embracing, and I'm enjoying. The kids have been great. The staff has welcomed me with open arms. So it's really cool.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. Talk about the season. What do you guys expect for this year?
As always, with a Bear coach team, expectations are high. There's a good group of kids that's there. They were very young last year, which bodes well for this year, because they got a lot of experience last year. A lot of sophomores that played, a sophomore quarterback. On the line, we have a couple of seniors that are very good. They're captains and they're playing both ways. And we've got some good skill guys, in terms of, and some people scoff at it, whatever it is, but in terms of the 7-on-7s, we were in 2 tournaments and we reached the finals of both. The first one at Heights, we made it to the finals against Westwood, but we never played the game because we got rained out. It was a thunderstorm, so they called it. And then down at Beckton, we made it to the finals against a really, really good Hillside team. And again, just being at Bosco,
they got some studs, dude.
So and Bosco's got two Hillside kids, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, they're still loaded. Like those guys.
Like
are
imagine
good.
if those 2 kids stayed at Hillside, right? And it's like,
yeah, and but our kids competed. We lost 14-7, and our kids hung in there. They had a ton of speed, and our kids just executed, and they competed. We got stopped, in the end zone 3 times. So credit the Hillside defense for stopping us. But it was a great experience, and that bodes well now for the season. But now the pads come on, right? Obviously, and the game changes a little bit, the run aspect and the toughness and all that, and that. But the expectations are high. We're the rabbit that we're chasing is Westwood, right? And they're coming back from their state championship, and they always seem to reload. They have a good coaching staff. They've got good players. But it's an exciting year, and a lot of these guys will be coming back next year too in 2025. So we're excited. We're playing our first game. I think it's the first time in Ramsey history where we're going out of state and we're playing down in Florida.
Yep. You are the only team in New Jersey, public, private, whatever, that's going to Florida this year.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah. So, and it's going to be a really cool experience for the kids, for the players, for the families, and even for the coaching staff, because again, not everyone has travel. So you got to be able to get over the distraction of the trip, right? That comes with it, the plane and the airport and the everything that comes with it, and be able to go down and handle business and play a game.
Which was something that for me, when I came to Bosco, like that was the biggest eye-opening experience for me to realize, like, this is not the norm, right? I mean, our first week, we hop on a bus, we're playing at the Naval Academy against Gilman, right? Then we come home, like it was a Saturday night game. We come home on a Sunday. We get right to work because we're leaving Thursday to go down to Fort Lauderdale and play St. Thomas Aquinas on ESPN2. And I'm going, I got no idea about any of this. So it was like a big adjustment for me and like a wow factor. We come back from Aquinas, right? Huge upset win, playing the Bosa brothers. Like we had we were like, should
not have been on the field then.
We pull out a win. We come back, we play DePaul, which wasn't the DePaul that it is now. Blow them out, and then we leave and we go to Utah. We leave out of JFK, which to me was like, these kids are walking around with their Bosco duffel bags, and people are stopping them, and like clapping as they're going through. Like that was such an eye-opening experience. Like this is different, dude.
Yeah.
And then we spend Wednesday to Sunday in Utah, like craziness, like, and it's something that like I'll never forget. And it was an experience that like you guys were like, look, man, this is like what we do. This is how we do it. And for the kids, like now I've looked at the programs I've been since, it's just something that I'm such a big advocate of. And it doesn't have to be some kind of crazy trip like you're going on a plane or going to Florida. Just the traveling aspect, I think, is so good for these young guys to get, you know, or feel that experience of traveling and staying together and, you know, eating meals together and all that stuff. And the parents love it too. And it's just an overall like great learning experience for those guys to kind of just be like, wow, this is something that not everybody really gets to do.
No. And you know, here, you know, at Ramsey, you know, wherever you are, right? You could be at Bosco, you could be wherever you are. Not everyone on that team is going to go on to play at the next level.
That might be their only traveling experience of their career.
Yeah, so like that's you know, it's just a cool experience for them and those families to have, and to be able to say, hey, my kid's playing down in Florida, you know, for their high school team this week with you know, in this particular case in Ramsey and public school ball, you know, they're going down with their friends from, you know, from kindergarten, right? Like kids that they grew up together with and played together with, and so now everyone's keyed up for it. I mean, this Friday will be 3 weeks away from the first game, which is crazy to think about already. But yeah, no, we're excited. So the outlook is good. You know, we're challenging ourselves early, and so we're excited. We're excited, and we hopefully we do good things in 2024.
Well, I have no doubt that will be the case. One last question I had before I let you go. The difference in your coaching style from going from Bosco to Ramsey and how you approach like the individual players that you were, are you working with a position in a specific position?
Yeah, I'm with the running backs. Yeah.
Okay. So when you're working with them, like what are some of the things that you either had to change or adapt in your coaching style from going from like Don Bosco to Ramsey?
So in terms of personally, the standard that I always held for, you know, if you're coaching a position like the running backs, the standard's the standard. And I don't think that's, you know, some guys might say, oh, you're coming from a different place in Bosco. Like, it don't matter, right? Like, the expectation is this. This is my expectation as a coach. Teaching, same thing. Hey, these are the expectations in the classroom moving forward for the year, right? So, like, the guys know what's expected of them in terms of their work ethic, in terms of what they need to know and what they need, how they need to approach, you know, playing that position. I am mindful of there's a couple of guys that are running backs that are also, you know, one's a linebacker and one's a corner, you know, are starting. They're two captains and one's playing as our starting linebacker and the other one's starting corner. So like, I have to be very mindful of that in terms of what I'm putting on their plate. And again, that comes from the organization of it. Like, hey, like, I know today we're focusing on this, and make sure that you guys know this run scheme and these plays under that run scheme and all the tags that come underneath that. Just kind of managing that expectation where, again, they're not going to get, and then reviewing with them, like modifying my Indy. I mean, I have like if we get 15, 20 minutes of Indy, 5 minutes of those are straight up review. Like, hey, remember what we did on Monday? Well, here's Wednesday. Here's what we're doing today, plus the build up off of what we're adding on today. Everyone have that clear. But you know, our first drill, like in terms of our footwork and our steps for each run scheme, that stays the same. The philosophy stays the same in terms of like, hey, you know, like the running back, you got to be the toughest guy on the field, right? You got to be, you know, you're the workhorse. You're going to get banged up, and you can never come off the field. Like, you're the guy. Just kind of establishing that mindset. that I don't think changes from where you go. I'm really proud of the running backs that we had at Bosco. Some guys were naturally talented, like a Kyle Monongai and Jalen Berger. That's pretty easy. But a guy like
that's more of a don't F it up type of situation.
That's kind of like that. That's the, hey, make sure you're on time every day and make sure you're going hard on every single rep, right? And that, like, as good as you are, you're not above the teams. That's that management, and those guys were awesome. They responded when I was the running backs coach. They responded as their coordinator. They were phenomenal. But then you get
that ain't a bad backfield, Ig. Like that ain't a bad backfield. That's not a bad backfield. I mean, even unfortunately, they just lost, right? Like just Saint Hilaire, like, and he was an up and coming thing, and now he's gone somewhere else. But like you've worked with, I mean, look, you worked with what's his name? Our boy that went to, I mean, dude, remember Hanks?
Evie, yeah. And
oh my God!
So that's the group I was going to talk about. Derek was you had Elijah Evie Token Hanks, who was phenomenal, right? And he had that, like, he was yoked up, tough.
Remember they tried to make him a linebacker at first, and we're like, no, dude, he got to come over here.
Against Premise Catholic, we threw him in, had never gotten reps. We threw him in as that backside defensive end.
Yep.
Just to get pressure on the quarterback, beat the tackle. He actually got the quarterback tip the ball.
That's what I'm saying.
That backfield was, if you remember, Kyle Phipps, who was undersized.
100%. And we killed him in camp.
So you go from you have talent, obviously, but then you have guys that aren't as naturally talented. Okay, so how are we gonna get the most out of this guy? And those principles stay the same from no matter where you go, from a parochial to a public. I think that's what makes good coaches successful, is like, okay, understanding the level of talent, but in terms of that want, that effort, that toughness, all those X factors, you got to instill and develop in those guys. There's no reason why those guys can't develop that certain good habit.
And look, and people say, oh, well, it's easy at Bosco because, the linemen are this, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, that doesn't matter. I mean, look, yeah, that helps a ton when you got, a couple Division I guys in front of you. And it also helps when you're going against like a one defense every single day, that sometimes that defense is going to be nothing, like the old school Miami Hurricanes, practice was harder than games. Right. And that's something that you can create within your program and instill that culture, which Bear does, whether guys are going one way or guys are going both ways. Like, he's still going to create that level, like you said, the standard is the standard, doesn't matter how you do it, and you create that too within your running backs room, right? Like, you're the head coach of your position, so you still coach everybody up the exact same way with that same mentality, regardless of skill level. And especially now in public, you definitely see a difference in skill level, whether it's, and you're not going to have as many guys, right? Like, you may only have a certain number here. So you got to push that sophomore, because eventually he's going to be the guy. And if he is right now, he's probably going and playing another position or helping out somewhere else. So when it comes to the mental stuff, like, hey, bro, I know you're playing this, but you got to learn running back too.
Yeah, no, and that's the great thing right now of where I am at Ramsey. The group of guys that we have, those kids are all in, man, and they don't complain about what they're playing or how many reps they're getting or that their legs are tired, or that they're just going. And so, like, that's what I mean, is that doesn't change. Like, the love for the game doesn't change, right? The logistics of it and how you structure things might change, but the guys that you have want to be there. They want to be coached, and they'll respond, to whatever you're bringing to the table, and they'll respect it. And they want to be coached hard, and they want to be developed, and that's just been really cool. So I love the group of kids that we have. My particular group, I love those guys, especially the guys like that do go both ways. There's a sophomore running back who got some reps last year as a freshman. He's all in, and he works in the weight room like that. Like I said, it's still football. They're still football players, and you still got to coach them, and you're still kids, and you got to get them to where you need to get them to. They need you as coaches. So it's just been a lot of fun, a really rewarding experience so far.
Yeah, that never changes. What you expect of them, what standard you set is what they're going to give you. That always is no matter where you are. That's always going to be the key. Coach, I can't thank you enough for coming on, taking the time out of your day to come come talk a little football with us. I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys do in the season. Ramsey's always really good. So that part, Adam's really changed the whole entire mindset there. It used to be kind of like an up and down program. Sometimes they had good years, sometimes, and he's really brought that consistency to a high level of excellence there. So it's great. It's great to see that. It's great to see that you're a part of that staff.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me. It was awesome. It's always good to talk ball. You guys got a ton of experience too, so always good, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate
Coach.
you. Thanks, buddy. Good luck, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Right,
I'll see you guys.
Bye-bye. That was great. That was excellent. Got to get a little North Jersey football knowledge in there, and really, really grow from there. And I think I'm curious to see.
It's always eye-opening to me when those guys leave parochial and go private. And like for a guy like Iggy, who really hasn't, like he's only ever coached at Bosco, you know what I mean? So that's literally what he expects football to be. And for him, like you heard him, he's like, I never even thought about having to share a field with another team. Like those little things, right? Or just like, yeah, I don't have my running back. Wait, we're not doing offense today at all? Like, what do I do as a coach? Like, because I've only ever coached, one way, one side of the ball. Every day we're going good on good. Like if we want to go good on good, we got to go half line. You know what I mean? Or just things of that nature that I love seeing that eye opening for him. And like, he's the guy that can flow into that because like I said, he's worn so many hats up there, a lot of behind the scenes work when it came to recruiting and all that kind of stuff or bringing kids in. And he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's literally been a sponge from day one. And I mean, you look at who he's coached with and under, like he'll be all right. And that program, like, Barry's a good dude. He gets it. And Ramsey, like you said, has those, some has that stuff that some other schools don't really have. Or, I mean, look, just the fact that you're talking about Ramsey traveling to Florida for a game, like that's crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
For administration's obviously, behind it and whatnot. So
that's
awesome.
Did a big fundraiser too, I'm assuming. Yeah, that's pretty awesome though.
Oh yeah. Maybe one of the starting running back's dad is probably the pilot.
Yeah, some. That's great. All right, we'll be back on Taste Tuesday. No, tomorrow. We'll be back on tomorrow with Hackensack head coach.
We'll get Coach Wrestler right off media day today.
Oh, he has a
fresh
media
out
day.
of Super Conference media day today at MetLife.
Oh, they had a Super Conference media day.
Yeah, because Super Con's got like 400 teams, so these kind of like everybody's smiling, taking pictures. Here we go, buddy.
That's great. All right. Well, yep. Till tomorrow. Great job, and we'll talk some more and go from there. All right. Great. Coach, you jumped off. I was going to say goodbye, but he jumped off. That was good. I didn't even know who he was.
That's what no, and I was gonna bring that up because I wanted to I really dude, he literally has worked from the ground up, through toll and everything. I mean, dude, when we were there, like you said, we were bottom of the barrel dudes, right? I was doing wideouts, he was doing running backs, and it was dude, you guys are the fucking GAs. You know what I mean? So him and I were roommates on the road. We'd be drawing up cards and shit for Drew and doing all the dirty work and stuff. But a lot of the kids, even the kids, still looked at him oh, you're the trainer. You know what I mean? So he had that big time adjustment where Toll just watched him work his ass off. And then before you know it, he was getting more responsibility, doing this and doing that. And then he was obviously a teacher at Bosco, right? He taught Spanish for